where does the CEO go? It's not necessarily to the ESG team or the sustainability team, right? It's probably to a financial analyst and say, hey, we've got this big operation. I want you to figure out all the ways that we could pull cost out of this operation. Very often pulling cost out of an operation means pulling carbon out of it too.
Welcome to the /podcast, where we lean into the future of IT by inviting fellow thought leaders, innovators, and problem solvers to slash through its complexity. I'm your host, James Carman, and today we're talking to Josh Dorfman. Josh Dorfman is a climate entrepreneur, author, and media personality. He's the CEO and host of Supercool, a media company focused on real-world climate solutions that cut carbon, boost profits, and improve modern life. He previously co-founded Planted, a carbon-negative building materials company named one of Fast Company's most innovative companies in 2024, and he's launched multiple sustainable design and climate ventures over the years. Josh also created The Lazy Environmentalist, a media brand that became a Sundance Channel TV series, a Sirius XM radio show, and 2 books. His work has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Forbes, and more. And he is also the only guest in history to ride a bike onto the Martha Stewart Show. Welcome to the /, Josh.
Thanks so much, James. Great to be here.
Yeah. Okay. I got to hear about this Martha Stewart thing. That's crazy. So you got to ride a bike onto the show.
At the time, this goes back a ways, 2007, I had a little radio show on Sirius XM called The Lazy Environmentalist. And I had created this brand, figured I should write a book. My book was about to come out. And their producers found me right before Earth Day, probably about a month before, reached out. They're like, hey, do you want to come on the TV show? Maybe talk about turning off the tap when you brush your teeth. And I was like, well, I tell you what, let me send over 10 suggestions of things that I think are pretty cool. And you let me know what you think. And so I sent over this, collapsible, foldable bicycle that I thought was awesome, like a solar powered, like a Roomba, but a solar powered Roomba to cut your lawn. Like diapers you could flush down the toilet that were biodegradable. The crazy stuff I knew about. I sent. They were like, oh, yeah, you should come on the show. And so I did my first national TV appearance. It was awesome, nerve wracking, kind of everything you would imagine.
Now, were you nervous being that close to a known felon? I mean, was that the problem?
Yeah, that is a big problem. So before you go on the show, knowing who you're about to encounter, you're behind this door. And so I was on this bike behind this door, and there's a guy there who's like, he's there to make you feel like you are the king of the world. Oh my God, Josh Dorfman's here. You're going to be incredible. Blah, blah. It's just trying to, and so he's telling you one thing, and then just below you is a puke bucket, So wow, you're going to be, so it's like you're torn. You're like, oh, I feel nauseous, but he's like, yeah, you're amazing. And finally you're like, you're right, I am amazing. And then they're like, go, and they push you out and off you go. So yeah, I was extremely nervous.
It's fantastic. I don't know that I've ever met anybody that's been on the Martha Stewart Show. That's pretty cool. And I have to ask, since I am a fan of 80s and whatever movies, I'm a big movie guy. The name Dorfman, of course. Are you related to the Dorfman from Animal House, the legacy? Are you related to him?
Well, there's 2 Dorfmans. There's Flounder from Animal House, right? So yeah, I'm not related to Flounder. But then there was also Kent. Fred the Dorfman from Fletch, also, legendary 80s movie, right? So yes. My nickname all through high school and still with my high school friends to this day is Fred.
Okay. All right. Good. A Fletch fan. I like that. Okay. Yeah. You've hung out with the Underhills at the country club a time or two then. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes just charge it to the Underhills. Exactly. So that's some good 80s references there, man. Now I like where this is going. Let's just do this.
Yeah, we can just do this all day. I'll have a steak sandwich and a steak sandwich. Fantastic.
You and your wife are currently living, I take it?
Congratulations on the garage. It must have cost you hundreds. There's just so many great lines from Fletch. Fletch was such a great movie. Okay, but you didn't come on here to talk about this or bicycles or puke buckets or anything. You wanted to talk about, sustainability, environment. Um, and this is kind of a big topic. It always is a big topic because, we're not really nice human beings when it comes to our Mother Earth. We don't treat her very nicely. But AI in particular seems to be resurfacing this conversation again because we're eating up a bunch of energy to feed these models and whatnot. Are you seeing a lot more interest and a lot, people starting to think more about sustainability now in your field?
Well, I'm not necessarily seeing more people think about sustainability. I think in some sense you could say we're in a little bit of a rut,
Mhm,
just given some of the global trends, I would say. But I've seen a consistent focus on sustainability amongst those who are interested, right? And
mhm,
it's really, for me, it's really moved into the business world. What I've seen because of that consistency is that if you look back over the last, let's say, 12 years or so, you will find about 2,000 climate technology startups that raised growth stage capital, kind of series B round capital or beyond. What that means is these are, thousands of companies that have went from the laboratory into pilots, probably with some corporate customers, advanced through pilots, got to commercialization. Now, a lot of them went out of business, but a lot of them didn't. And so it's really that kind of consistency, that steadiness of bringing these technologies into the market that is now starting to scale. And kind of to your point, I definitely see for many of the companies that are really gaining market adoption, of course, they use all the technologies available to them for their technology, and AI is a big one. I see that integrated
mhm.
into a lot of these solutions.
Sure, absolutely. Um, but a lot of these companies have, they kind of feel like, okay, we'd love to be, more friendly with the environment. We'd love to be good citizens of this earth. But we got a business to run. We got all those sacrifices it would just kill us. So, and I think that you've found that to be, if you're creative and you're willing to do it, you can actually do this in a way that's where you don't have to sacrifice as much as people might think. I think that's kind of the vibe that I got from our conversation the other day. Is that correct?
Well, what I would say is of those companies who are scaling, right? And a lot of
Mhm,
them are now publicly traded companies, right? We're talking about big companies, talking about take a company like Sunrun, right? Publicly traded company. It's the largest installer of solar panels on residential homes in America, the only company who have installed solar on over 1 million homes. They're now the largest installer of batteries on people's homes, right? Like
mm,
what these companies have learned when they are talking to their customers. Now, this is a business to consumer company. I see it also in a business to business context. But what a company like Sunrun learned to get that kind of rapid growth is we're not here to talk to a homeowner about kilowatt hours anymore. We're not here to talk to them about the materials that go into their solar panel. We're certainly not going to talk about batteries. We're here to talk about getting control over your energy costs over the long term, having that be predictable, knowing what you're going to pay, having peace of mind if the power goes down because of extreme weather, that your lights can stay on, feeling like you can take care of your family, security. That's what we're going to sell. That's a sell that everybody wants. Who doesn't want
sure,
those things? And
sure,
so
absolutely.
the companies that I find succeeding are just changing the conversation. There's plenty of companies who are stuck, right? You're like, oh, let
Mm,
me tell you about the kilowatt hours, right? Let me tell you about things that, right? They don't grow. But a lot of companies that have figured out how to gain market adoption, really how to scale their solution, take market share from legacy competitors, have figured out like, oh yeah, we actually have something here. We could go talk about product benefits. We could go talk about outcomes. I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but I had this, one of the most famous architects in this world, this guy, Eric Corey Fried. He wrote Green Building for Dummies over two
mhm,
decades ago. He started his architectural practice, Organic Architect, in the 1990s. And now he works for Canon Design, one of the largest global architectural firms in the country. And he's their head of sustainability. So he's been on this train for a long time. He works with like the Mayo Clinic, like the Cleveland Cancer Center. And he gets in a room with their executives and he says, hey guys, what do you say we build the next cancer center and we don't put cancer causing chemicals in the walls? What do you think? Right. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea. He's like, right. So don't worry about the toolkit for how I'm going to do that. Trust, like the toolkit's scaled up. I have lots of tools. It's not going to cost you more. Let me take care of that, but I will give you this thing you didn't even know that was possible. That's very often what's happening today too.
Now, as technology, are you seeing, what sort of innovations from a technology standpoint are, that's making some of these um, environmental pushes and people can be a little more friendly to the planet. What sort of technology advancements have you seen recently that have been helping us to be able to do that?
Well, I mean, what I see is some core technologies where the prices are just declining. I mentioned too, solar panels, battery
Hmm.
storage for all of its, whether it's going into a car or it's going onto the side of your house or it's at grid scale and utility. You just see the costs coming down so much. Tesla is about to introduce, I don't even know if it's on the road, but if it's not, it's coming soon. Like, the 18-wheeler electric
Mm.
Tesla semi truck, right?
Yeah.
Um, so all of these, but EVs are here. It's just the technology keeps improving. What I tend to see over and over again is companies thinking about the business model of how do I deploy this stuff so that a customer is going to say yes. I'll just give you one quick example. There's a company
Sure.
called Butterfly,
Mm.
Buddfly. Butterfly is one of the fastest growing companies in the country. CNBC Disruptor 50, kind of like on every list. It's run by this guy Al Sablui out of Connecticut. And when you meet Al and you talk to Al, and Al tells you the first thing out of his mouth, he says, "I'm going to give you an offer that you can't refuse." Or I'm make
Hmm.
you an offer. He does come across as a little bit like Godfather too, like he could be one of the son, like a Corleone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's making that offer to the franchise owner of like a Sonic fast food restaurant in Long Island, a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Taco Bell. And the offer is, I'm going to come in and I'm going to replace all your old refrigeration, all your old lighting systems, your old commercial kitchen. I'm going to just replace it for free because it's using so much energy that I know by upgrading you to the most modern stuff, you're going to save so much on your energy bills because this is a very energy intensive business. We Butterfly will keep most of those savings. That's what you get for me modernizing your entire facility, but you're going to save and you're going to get benefits too. You're going to save on your energy bills as well if you take my offer. And that's it. Like we'll manage the bill. We'll do all these things to ensure that we optimize energy. And they've figured out the model so Butterfly makes enough return that it's entirely worthwhile for everyone to do this. They've grown now. They're in like 8,000 fast food chains across the country, growing exceptionally fast. Every fast food franchise owner wants this, makes their business better, and they get lower bills.
Wow. And is that primarily like, are they just running it better? That's a better software, better management. Like how are they
All of the
achieving that?
above. All of
All of
the
the
above.
above.
And that's really the key. The technologies have gotten so much better that a lot of the companies who are succeeding are also the companies that they're rethinking they're innovating around the business model, right? So like, how do I just make this so easy for you to say yes because it's going to be free, right? You don't,
Hmm.
and we'll install it and we'll manage it and we'll also pay the bill so we can get all the information from the utility so we can also run our AI models and figure out how do we optimize kind of this whole system, right? How do we optimize lighting and refrigeration in the security system in a way where we can actually derive more energy reduction, right? So it's like that's carbon emissions that go down, right? But like they're really good at raising money. I mean, so they went out, they've raised probably like $1 billion from private equity. So Al has different core competencies that enable him to actually run this kind of business, right? It's like, that's what I see. I see, for example, there's a company called Copper that has built an induction range stove. It's beautiful. It's called the
Mm.
Charlie. It's got beautiful wooden knobs. I mean, it's like, it has that look that's sort of modern, but yet timeless. Like it's awesome. So
Hmm.
it plugs in, it's induction range. And a lot of like top chefs increasingly want to cook on induction, even over a flame, even over natural gas. The challenge is to get an induction range in many people's homes. You need a 220 amp volt, plug in your kitchen, and most people don't have that. So you have to run, new lines, and it's thousands of dollars to upgrade your system. Pay an electrician. So copper took a battery, because the costs have gone down so much, and stuck it in the induction range. So now you can take that same stove when you buy it, plug it into the same outlet as your blender or your toaster. That battery will charge while you're not cooking. And then in those 3 or 4 times during the day when you cook, it releases enough energy along with the plug to actually run the induction range without the 220 volt amp, right? So, or amp volt or whatever, right? So innovated around the entire technology package. They didn't invent a new battery. They just figured out a use case to be able to sell these really awesome stoves that people actually want. And now you get rid of natural gas, cooking in the kitchen. And that too is getting rid of fossil fuels. That's a climate solution. People want it. So that's what I see. I see innovation, not just in inventing new climate stuff, but also inventing or using what exists to actually build business cases and business models and other products that people want that rely on these technologies.
So before, with these induction stoves, you're saying people they'd go through all the hassle of rewiring their kitchen to 220, 221, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm going to pay $5,000 or $4,000 or whatever. So it's not cheap, right? This is still, and the prices will come down over time, but I'm going to pay $4,000 or $5,000 for this induction range, but it's competitive for the premium cooking class that it's in. But I'm going to pay $5,000 for that. And then I'm going to pay the electrician $10,000. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm not doing that. That's a deal breaker, right? But now I don't have to pay the electrician anything. I can just it shows up, it gets installed, I plug it in, I'm good to go. And so they're solving pain by using that battery. And then you have a battery, right? So now you actually have a benefit. If the power goes out, you can still cook. Guess what? If you got natural gas, or you're on some other system, maybe you can't. If you want to run your fridge, you can still run your fridge if the power's out. That's a benefit. So that's really what's starting to happen is, innovators. So the thing is, to me, that often people say, oh, what gives me hope is the younger generations care more and they'll solve this. And it's have you really thought about it? Or are you just saying something because you just feel like you need to say something? Because the entrepreneurs who are actually figuring this stuff out are people who've been around for a long time. They've actually seen the problems, right? And they're like, oh, actually, I get it. This is a pain. There's this company, For Mobility, I mentioned, big semi, 18-wheeler electric trucks. They have figured out in the ports of California, how do you get people to move off of diesel, these drayage trucks that are bringing the shipping containers from big ships to warehouses and eventually onto trains. How do we get them onto electric versions, from Volvo and soon Tesla? Well, let's just package the 18-wheeler and the charging together in a monthly subscription price that undercuts the price of diesel. And so that's actually what they're doing. So now it's cheaper for a mom and pop shop, which is mostly who runs these trucks, to actually use a $500,000 truck, because they don't actually have to buy it. They're just paying a monthly fee, and everything's included, maintenance, to make it really easy. Now, the reason why that particular entrepreneur who runs that particular company can figure it out is because he came from the solar industry. And the reason that matters is because he realized, in the solar industry, the reason why the financial model works is because it's now proven that solar panels are going to last 25 or 30 years. So we can get different financing because we have this asset that isn't a 5-year asset. We'll get lower interest rates, right? He can actually, because of his background, he's doing the same thing with banks. He's saying, look, this Volvo 18-wheeler, this thing is going to last 20, 25 years. Give me different financing. And he has a model where he actually makes the financing work to run this kind of innovative business model. So he didn't invent the truck, he didn't invent the charging, but he innovated the business model that enables all of this to actually be more financially prudent for a small mom and pop, 18-wheeler driver to switch to, than continuing to run on diesel. That's where I see a lot of the innovation too.
So it's not necessarily technology; it's just thinking outside the box and using existing things we have.
It's the combination, but because those technologies are getting better and better and cheaper and more proven, it's the combination of them coming together.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So presumably, at some point, those curves, because it's such a long tail, they cross and there's profit. Okay. Gotcha. It's not. Is Is that an immediately profitable business, or because of the debt, it would take a little while? But I
I
guess
mean,
you can
that,
get
yeah,
revenue coming in.
yeah, you can. So you're getting your revenue coming in. And like I said, that's why it's the sophistication around, you got to be really sophisticated around your operations. You got to really be sophisticated around, how you run your finances, and your treasury. It's not just about, hey, I'm a tech genius in a garage. I'm going to go invent this thing and I'm going to change the world because this thing like sucks carbon from the atmosphere, or, like that's not really what's happening. What's happening is these technologies that are improving are, people are putting really sophisticated, building businesses around them. Well, I'll give you another example where there is technology, but like, one of the core tenets of sustainability is reduce, reuse, recycle, right? And we've heard
Mhm.
this a million times. Every kid in grade school hears reduce, reuse, recycle. Take personal responsibility. Well, that's limited because if we look around, not a lot of people are taking personal responsibility. They've been told to do it 40 years ago. They're still being told to do it now. And now a lot of people are waking up and be like, hold on a second. Maybe Coca-Cola should take corporate responsibility and just take the bottles back like they used to. Why do we have to take personal responsibility for their waste that they created in the first place? Right. But we're not going to get into that because that's a whole, convoluted mess of a conversation that doesn't really go anywhere. But there's a
Right.
company called Our World, right? That actually was like, if I want to figure out reuse at scale, maybe I could build a back-end logistics system where I could invent a cup that could be reused, let's say like 300 times or something. And maybe I could get like the crypto arena to actually like adopt this cup so that if you go watch a Lakers game or you go watch a concert or something in LA at the crypto arena, everybody has one option, and it's just to use this reusable cup. So we'll have when you're done, there's a bin where you throw it out because that's the only bin available to you. And then we build all the high end logistics, washing infrastructure, every sanitizing, everything to make sure that, the crypto arena and Coachella, and whoever else are being refilled with the reusable cups, tons of like college football stadiums. And now like reuse is just the default. Nobody has to be like, I want to be a good human and live by my values. And so I'm going to like bring my reusable, mug or whatever to the concert. I'm going to have a reusable straw. It's like, no, it's just the default. Like that's just the way the system works now. That's the kind of change that actually I get very excited about, that really drives profound impact at scale.
And, as leaders, that's one of the things, the forward slash leaders in technology. How can we, as leaders, how do we think differently? How do we learn more about this sort of stuff so that we can apply some of these concepts to our business? We can innovate within our businesses to be more environmentally friendly, and not just for the sake of the environment necessarily, but also there is a business impact. You actually can be, saving money or affecting that bottom line. How do we think differently? How do we learn more? How do we apply these principles?
Well, two ways. One is listen to your, really smart 12-year-old who's on like, TikTok or whatever, who's like, Dad, are you doing this at work? Are you doing this at work? Are you doing this at right? Like in that sense, like the kids do know. But really, it's actually like if you're the CEO of pretty much any company, certainly a public company, or you're beholden to your board, if you are not embracing some of these technologies, then you're really not fulfilling your responsibility as the CEO to run your company as efficiently and low cost as possible. So what's interesting though is that I was talking to the CEO of a company called Shine, this guy Owen Barrett. Shine has cracked this problem um, and created an opportunity with big multifamily apartment buildings where people have been trying to sell solar to the owners of those buildings. Hey, you got this giant big flat roof. You should put solar on it. The problem is if you put solar on the building, the problem has been that means that everyone in these apartments is going to use less. They'll get the benefit of the solar, right? They'll have lower energy bills, but the way the billing works, like the owner who actually paid for the solar isn't going to be able to necessarily recoup their investment, right? Because it's like it's just this. The problem is where the incentives are and who actually benefits, and so Owen figured out a way to put solar on a roof of an apartment building and then figure out with each apartment exactly how much solar each apartment is using so they can be billed, right? So they'll
Mm.
still save money on their bill, but then the company who owns the building can also bill them and say, hey, we're going to charge you for that solar. What we'll charge you is less than what you would pay the utility. You'll save money, but we're going to recoup our investment. What he said to me was like, we're growing really fast, but where we get stuck, because this is what I always want to know, can you go sell Owen into some of these big developers who have buildings in every city? Like how fast can this grow? He's like, yeah, but sometimes we talk to these companies and we have a CFO who's excited or some executives excited. And they're like, great, talk to our ESG team, talk to our sustainability team. And he's like, that's actually where often good ideas go to die. They just get bogged down, right? They like in analysis paralysis or everything, every box, and like you just don't make any progress. So where does a CEO go? This is kind of to your point, like to answering your question, where does a CEO or an executive go to learn more? It's not necessarily to the ESG team or the sustainability team, right? It's probably to a financial analyst and say, hey, we've got this big operation. I want you to figure out all the ways that we could pull cost out of this operation. Very often pulling cost out of an operation means pulling carbon out of it too. The solutions are
Hmm.
just a lot better now. I
Yeah.
task a financial analyst.
So, all right, I got to know, like, what you said, analysis paralysis, but what are they? How are they getting themselves bogged down? I mean, that should be what they do, but they're almost stifling innovation. The ESG teams. What? How do they get in their own way so much? I guess is my question.
Yeah, it really struck me when he said it. It's like, well, what do you mean? Why is that? He's like, because there's checklists. Does it check this box? Does it check that box? Does it line up with, our greenhouse gas protocol reporting? There's just all of this mess that can kind of come into what the sustainability team may be tasked with, responding to, trying to figure out. He's like, it just dies. It just gets so slow. The process it loses all momentum, and we lose the core value proposition, which is you guys are going to save money. Like there's a great ROI on this. If you actually do this, it pays back fast because solar's gotten so much cheaper. So, I don't know the intricate details, but it does seem to me that the exciting thing today is that a lot of the technologies that a company should be evaluating really can flow right into the offices of the CFO and then the finance department's organization to go vet, or operations, because it's going to make their life better. Now, I mean, yeah, that's what's just very exciting to me. I mean, I just find that because, I mean, it's how we started the conversation, James, but to me, those companies who have succeeded, that are scaling, did raise the growth capital, that now are leveraging that growth capital to really scale. They've realized that, again, why are we talking about our tech platform and coming up with all these convoluted terms when really when we can say is like, I have a solution that's easy to install, that's going to save you money, has a fast payback. It will probably make your workers more comfortable or somehow improve your business. Let's get everybody in a room. We'll show you how our solution benefits ops, benefits facilities, benefits the financial bottom line, makes reporting easier, and really try and solve corporate pain points or company pain points to, move the low carbon economy forward.
One thing that it's kind of struck me as we've been talking is you've mentioned AI a few times, or analysis of data. So data is the new gold kind of thing, right? And I feel like there's an arc here, a story arc that we kicked off the conversation talking about AI is bringing up environmentalism again, and because AI is causing a big problem. But do you feel like because of all of these, people can leverage AI now, that it may be not just solving its own problem of sustainability, but even solving some of those other ones that were intractable before, that maybe we can make some kind of leaps and bounds in what we do and how we can address these problems because of AI?
AI, from where I sit in the conversations that I have, AI is an enabler of greater efficiency, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes that can be counterintuitive or just time compression, right? You can take a business that might otherwise, it sounds nice, like a business like it's coming Climatize. Climatize is essentially crowdfunding for smaller type solar or battery storage projects, a Shakespearean theater wants to put solar on the roof. Maybe it's a $500,000 project. Goldman Sachs is never going to get involved in that type of thing because it's way too small and it would cost way too much for their consultants to come in and do the due diligence on it and figure out the financing. But that, could be great for individuals who want to invest in the solar, in the clean energy industry to help fund that kind of project. It may come with a 10%, annual return, 8%, but still, a nice return. Okay, so to figure that out, you still have to run diligence on the project. So Climatize uses AI to compress the diligence process from weeks to minutes so that they can even go into the first meeting with a potential client who wants to get some solar project off the ground or battery storage project off the ground. So yeah, you're pre-approved. We've run all the diligence, and they've built an AI engine to help them go a lot faster, which now means their pipeline for these small projects is exploding. Word of mouth spreads that like, hey, you can get through this whole pipeline much faster, get your money, get underway, get going a lot faster. That's what AI is enabling. I see a lot of use cases where it's doing that.
It is helping with some other industries where, we would kind of look at something and say it's not just technologically. I mean, with you throw enough bodies at a problem, you can probably solve it. But it just became financially infeasible to spend that much money to solve this problem. It was like, I just don't want to spend that money. Those problems are cheaper to solve now. Are you seeing anywhere where AI is, I mean, in some sense, what you just said is an example, but it's not necessarily we know how to write software now, or we can write the right software to do this now. That's what I'm looking for. Are there stories out there in the market where we're starting to see headway of like, we're really actually tackling these big problems where before we were just like, yeah, that's just cost us too much to do that. Are you seeing anything like that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. To me, yeah, so like these big transformational opportunities. I see problems getting solved that weren't being solved before because of AI. Maybe not in the way that you're describing, but one of the companies that we follow that I'm a huge fan of is a company called Zoom, Z-U-M. Zoom started to commercialize their solution about 6 years ago. It's to help manage school bus systems across the country. School buses in aggregate are the largest commercial transportation system in America. There's over 500,000 school buses on the road every day, Monday through Friday, transporting kids to and from school. Right? Massive impact, way bigger than airplanes, way bigger than trains. It is the biggest fleet of things on the road, commercial fleet
Wow.
every day. What's insane, literally, I would argue is insane, is that most kids today in America are having the same experience on the school bus that you had, or I had, or my grandparents had, right? Which means when the school bus leaves the depot in the morning, nobody knows where it is. School doesn't know where it is. Transportation director doesn't know where it is. The parents don't know where it is. No. And school buses are, for many big public school systems, are like chronically late. We don't necessarily know as a country because this is a local issue, but just look up like Buffalo, late school buses, New York City, late school bus, like pick your town, pick your city, and you will see this is a problem. Kids doing the right thing, waiting at the bus stop, getting on the bus, still get to school late. Right. And it causes stress and upheaval there. Anyway, so Zoom did a few things. So Ritu Narayan, again, it started this company after a successful career product manager at eBay, other places, was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put some technology on the school bus. So one, we know where it is. And then we're going to use AI to optimize routes here. We're going to use some machine learning. So we're going to actually figure out the fastest way to get to where we want to go. And if Timmy can't go to school this morning because he's sick, then his mom or dad can go in the app, be like, Timmy's not coming to school, bus reroutes, and we know the optimal way for that bus to reroute. Like all efficiency, we're going to cut carbon, we're going to cut diesel, we're going to save money. I just read today, actually, because they released their 2025 report. They're in schools from Boston to Dallas to Kansas City, Richmond, schools up and down the West Coast, over 4,000 schools. Kids are now getting to school with 90% on time because of this system that they put in place. Now, because they put the system in place in Oakland, California, and soon there'll be a big school district. It might be around Hartford, Connecticut, but in Connecticut, they took Oakland school buses and they electrified them. And they said, look, we're going to electrify your school buses because before you had 136 really dumb diesel school buses but we optimized your system. Today, you only need 74. So we're going to buy you 74 electric school buses. And because the technology has gotten so much better with these big giant batteries on the buses, we're going to charge them up, and we're actually going to sell energy back to the grid at times when energy is expensive, like when people come home from work. So that's going to help defray the cost of getting you into 74 school buses. We could never do this without AI, because otherwise you'd have 136 dumb diesel buses to replace. But now it's basically half. And so that's where I see technology and AI really pushing us into the future, solving intractable problems that no one ever even really thought about, and certainly couldn't figure out how to solve without using some really novel technology.
Can see that this would have a huge impact on like the monster truck industry with all those buses now available, those old, fossil fuel buses to just run over or jump over. Now it's going to make the shows much better, I think. So
Well,
I'm
they'll
excited
be
for
they'll
that.
be they'll be quieter. I,
Well, yeah, they could do that.
I've
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
to those shows. I've taken my
Yeah.
kids to those shows, but yeah, they'll definitely have a lot more torque. That's for sure.
Yeah. If the monster trucks could do, oh man, that'd be great. And what about when you say like the biggest fleet, I always wondered like the postal service. I mean, it seems like a no brainer. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Like that just seems like an easy button for, saving carbon emissions. I mean, I think they've done some of that. How far along are they?
They're actually moving faster than most realize. And in fact, just this morning, I was reading how I think it's a company. I think it's Oshkosh is the company that's made this new EV van for postal workers, and scaling. I think 6,000 have been delivered. There's going to be like 25,000 delivered, I think, this year, going up to somewhere like 100,000 new EV vans for delivering the mail. So the U.S. Post Office is actually, from a fleet perspective, moving a lot faster than many other fleets in America, and still projected to continue to adopt these types of technologies. I was surprised. I didn't know. It's interesting you asked, because literally I was reading about this like 2 hours ago. I was like,
Oh,
huh.
wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And they look different too. They're these taller mail delivery trucks. They have a totally different kind of design to them than what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I think like I love the idea of, little Jimmy's not going to be at school today. So mom says, you don't have to stop at my house. The problem with mail is they have to stop at everybody's house to check to see if their stupid flag's up. So that you can't solve that problem. Why don't we just say, if you want to send mail anywhere, you got to go somewhere else. You don't put it in your mailbox at your house, And then we can do the thing like, I'm only driving to the places where I have to deliver stuff. I don't have to check every single house just in case. That seems like that would be a
Yeah. Or if you
no-brainer.
had like a Jetsons chute or something, like
Yeah,
a pneumatic tube, which, I mean,
yeah.
as you're asking about new technology, although I guess like this is actually really interesting too. There are many cities around the world, including New York City, that take out the trash, send out the trash through like Jetsons, like pneumatic tubes below the streets. Roosevelt Island, in the middle of the East River, 12,000 residents, lots of other buildings. Yeah, there's a pneumatic tube. Like the trash that goes in gets sucked down and taken out to a central location. And so this was actually invented, though. What's crazy is the future was invented in the 1950s by this company called NVAC in Sweden. And in the 1970s, when Disney World opened, they deployed this technology because they wanted to be the most futuristic place, on the
Mm.
planet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you can actually see this system if you go to Disney World, and when they have some of these corridors underneath the park where you can kind of move faster, like you'll see these giant tubes that's sucking out the trash. So really exciting, like, Singapore, Beijing, New York City, London, all of like the 25-acre development around Wembley Stadium, like all has like, you never see a garbage truck. And so the good news is, like, it doesn't smell. You're not deteriorating your streets. You have less clogging of street arteries by big giant trucks. You have more on-street real estate for like benches and parks and nice amenities for humans. And because all this gets centralized and you're not running all those trucks, you cut your carbon emissions for waste removal by 90%. And so now, I guess, to this conversation we're having, then the sorting, like, okay, well, all that waste goes in. How do you sort efficiently? Now you use AI and you use, pattern recognition to figure out, okay, what goes to the landfill, what goes to the recycling bin, or the recycling facility, what can go and be composted. So AI is playing a role. It's not necessarily the transformational technology, but it is the enhancer that makes that whole system work much better.
Mm. Yeah, the operational efficiencies get us there. Okay. All right. Very cool. Okay. Well, we have to move on to our next segment of the show. And the next segment is Ship It or Skip It.
Ship or skip, everybody we gotta tell us if you ship or skip.
You mentioned the batteries. This kind of seems like a really cool idea. Where are you on, like, you mentioned the battery in the home, like having that as like a thing, like every home has a battery in it, as you know, I think Elon Musk and, they wanted to do that with the batteries. They wanted it for charging EVs, but it could also serve as kind of like a, like I think about like my equipment at home for my electronics. I have like that UPS, right? I mean, if the power goes out, it stays running. Like that's like your whole home could stay, and maybe you could charge it during off peak and all of that. Where are you on that? Is that a thing? Is there are there legs there for that, or is that just a pipe dream?
That is absolutely ship it. What's actually going to happen, I would imagine in the next 5 years, I would bet almost every home in America is going to have a battery. And the reason why is because despite, whatever hype, or it depends how much people pay attention to what's happening around AI data centers, there's just
Mhm.
not nearly enough energy that can be built fast enough to run all of these AI data centers. There's just simply not. And so an idea that's being floated increasingly is that when Meta comes to town, or Amazon, pick your hyperscaler, they're like, hey, we want to put a data center here. So I'm in Horry County and like Myrtle Beach area in South Carolina. And they're like, well, we don't really have enough energy. And they're like, well, we want one there. And so then what's going to happen is Meta is going to pay for everyone to have a battery in their house. And what will happen is when Meta, because the problem is Meta, it's not that like there's not enough energy, there's not enough peak energy. So if like,
Mhm.
right, if we have a spike and now you put all this energy on the grid, then like there's 10, 12 hours a year where like if you have that Meta data center running where everything's at risk because now there's just too much energy demand. If you put a battery in everybody's home and Meta pays for it, then what that means is, okay, during those peak periods, people have stored their batteries with energy. They can give it back to the grid, right? They can
Right.
send the energy back to the grid, and that will enable the grid to stay more stable. And it will be these hyperscalers who are going to finance the batteries going into people's homes so that they will get permission to actually build their data centers, because it will be for them basically pennies on the dollar, given how much they're investing to make this happen. That is my prediction. That will be the core driver. Data centers will drive battery storage into people's homes.
So it's not so much like kind of store and forward kind of thing just for the home. It's actually a reverse as well, feeding back into the grid where all that storage is happening. Because I think they could produce the same power 24/7, right? I mean that the capability is there, but there's nowhere to put it. If they can output all the power, but if it doesn't have anywhere to go, there's no reason to do it. So they ramp down the off peak. They have to ramp down production. But if everybody had batteries that they could store those things, we could charge everybody up at night. And okay, all right.
Yeah, and so this idea of more distributed energy system where homes become power plants, right? So because why would a home do that? Well, they'd say, okay, I'll give the energy back, but maybe you're going to pay me for that energy if I give it back, or maybe you'll give me the battery for free. And therefore, like, yeah, you have some rights to that energy, but like I get to use the battery the rest of the time where, right, if energy prices are high, I'll just draw power from the battery, right? Or if there's a blackout, I can draw power from the battery. So there's going to be all of these, well, we'll start with probably some trials and tests in certain places, but I think this is going to spread really fast because honestly, I don't know how we build all this data center infrastructure. I mean, you can't build a natural gas power plant. Like there's just no natural gas turbines. They're all spoken for the next 5 years. Talk to Siemens Energy and they're like, yeah, get in line. So like, where's the energy going to
Wow.
come from?
Right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm on board. I know the other day we had here in Cincinnati, we had like some awful winds. It was crazy. And, my electricity was just like out for like 5 seconds and come back on. I'd go out, back on, out, back on. That's nightmare for like electronics equipment. But my internet, the good thing, I had it on that UPS and it stayed connected. It was fine. I was able to so if I could have that for my whole house, I'm on board. I'm ship it. Give me that. Sign me up now. I love it. I love the idea. Okay. The next one, I would say the thing that's kind of maybe in your alley. Where are you on this? They're trying to solve this problem, the AI data center or the AI factory, I guess is what they're calling them. Energy problem. They're like, what if we put these things in space? Or what if we put them at the bottom of the ocean? Like, where are we at on these things? Is this a real deal? Or could this work?
No, this is just never going to happen. I mean, this is just distraction, really. Like, it's just not going to happen. Just getting payloads into space, making the economics work, actually making that viable. I would be very surprised if that happens. Soon. Now, technically, is it possible? Well, I certainly wouldn't pass it. Like the person working with SpaceXers on the company that we started Planted, where we're making carbon negative building materials. This company I co-founded with 2 guys from SpaceX. I would put nothing past Elon and anyone else from SpaceX to just figure it out. Right? It's just like there was actually a guy, he's an investor in SpaceX, and he was working with us also in the beginning, who kind of was going to come full time on Planted, our company, but then he was like, I'm going to stay because I'm working on the satellite thing, and we're going to build internet for the world, but we just have to line up the lasers so these satellites can link up and shoot, build this global system. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but it was like, if anyone's going to figure it out, they will figure it out. I just don't know if it just sounds a little bit more like distraction to me than actual viable path forward.
When they start talking about putting data centers in space, I'm like, I don't know about that. Maybe, because we already have kind of things that are on the bottom of the ocean that we run now. But I would worry about all that heat being in the ocean. We're already having some issues with heating up our oceans anyway. Is that dropping the bucket? Could it really make a difference if we have a data center down there pumping out, AI tokens left and right? Would that heat actually make a noticeable difference in our oceans? Because they're huge, right? I mean, it's the whole freaking planet.
It's a good question. That I have not gone that deep to do that research. I don't know.
Gotcha. Like deep down in the ocean, or just deep thought?
I haven't been there. I haven't been there.
So you don't know. Yeah. How are you going to know if you haven't been there?
Did you know, by the way, that I didn't know that after James Cameron made the first Avatar, do you know why it took so long to make the second one? Why he didn't just come out with it much sooner? I mean, the first one was so successful.
Right. I don't know. Because
the dude built a submarine so he could go to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, himself, so that's he's like, I'll be back in 6 years and we'll make the next Avatar 2 and go make another $1 billion. But in the meantime, I am going to the bottom of the ocean. And he did. He built his own submarine to go to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Isn't that amazing?
I did not know that. That'd be nice to have that kind of money where you're just like, you know what? I'm going to where nobody else in the entire.
I just love that, right? Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, make another one. He's like, I'm going to peace out for a few years. I'm going to go build a submarine and I'll be back.
Yeah. You guys buy it on DVD, watch it online, stream for a little while to fund my ventures. And then we'll give you another taste here in 6 years after I've gone to the bottom of the ocean. All right.
So maybe he knows. I don't know. Maybe you can ask. He probably knows what's at the bottom of it. He's done some probably deep thinking,
He's not really returning our calls. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe he's making another Avatar movie or another submarine. I don't know. Yeah. We can keep trying though. Deep thinking. Nice. Okay. Well, that's it for this segment of the show. Ship it or skip it. Now we move on to the most important part of the show. If you've listened to the show before, you understand that this is what we've kind of just this idle chit chat that we've been doing so far. This has no impact on the world. This is not what people tune in for. It's nice, you know what I mean? We get to know each other and whatnot. It's okay, that's cool. But the real bulk of the show, where people tune in, this is for our lightning round. And this is where it starts to get serious. The questions have real answers, correct answers, and they have wrong answers. And there's a lot of wrong answers. Hopefully you don't say any of them because we will be keeping score. and we'll tally all of that up. We'll share it with you. It takes a few months to do all the tallying required. There's an algorithm. There's a lot going on. We got a lot going on there, but I'm sure you'll be fine. Most people are, so I don't want you to be nervous, but I do want you to be prepared. Are you mentally prepared for the lightning round?
I am. I just want to understand, is the scoring, is there a subjective element to it, or is it all straight up, do I need to worry about like the Romanian judge, or is it
I wish I knew. I do. I am just the eye candy on a audio podcast. I am here. I'm just talent. They don't tell me these details. I don't know. I have no idea how it works. I don't know what goes into this. They just said, "Don't worry your pretty little head about this." That's what they told me, because I've asked before and they won't tell me. I don't even know who they are. Honestly, I really don't. So,
well, that's the concerning part. I mean, that's what that's really what I'm trying to get at. But I am ready, so I'm willing to.
Okay. Well, if you're mentally prepared,
take the leap. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I'm ready too. Because I think honestly, I have the hardest part is reading these questions. What was your last Halloween costume?
A chicken.
Chicken. Okay. Somebody said the other day that I reminded them of Jiminy Glick when I was doing these, because I kind of do that kind of thing. You know what I mean? When Jiminy used to do that, but I don't do the low. I don't do any of that stuff. But anyway, I'll try not to be too Jiminy with you. Chicken. Okay. Got that? Everybody, survey says chicken. That works. Are you a Godfather or Star Wars kind of guy?
100% Godfather.
100% Godfather. Okay. We've been talking a lot about ocean. What does the acronym SCUBA stand for?
No idea. Do you know?
We would have accepted. I've come on. Of course I know. I mean, come on. No, I don't, honestly.
Scuba.
No.
There was a band that I used to love in Colorado called Zuba. But yeah, I don't know what that stands for either.
I don't think they're related.
But I don't think Zuba is related to scuba. But
I think it's self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
Oh man, jeez.
Breathing.
Gosh. Yeah, no, right I definitely did not know that.
If you're journaling, are you using paper or are you a computer kind of guy?
If I'm journaling for like hardcore journaling, I'm going straight up ChatGPT.
All right. Okay. We'll accept
I'm just talking to ChatGPT. I'm just storing everything in ChatGPT. It's just, that's where my journaling
It's like your second brain. You do that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah. I walk around my neighborhood and I'm like, vomiting into ChatGPT, and people are like, I was going to say hi, but you look so busy. I'm like, you should have said hi.
Yeah,
man.
I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used the voice thing, the advanced voice mode. And I did around New Year's, I did an episode of the podcast where I was interviewing ChatGPT. I run out of that all the time. So you only get like an hour. And I'm like, I do it on my commute. I'll talk to it and just go through ideas. But anyway, I'm sure the statute of limitations would be fine here. You're not going to implicate yourself in anything. Have you ever stolen anything?
Absolutely, I have. I'll tell you one of the things that we enjoy doing. A little Dorfman family tradition. It came from my cousins came to visit, and we were like, it was Saturday morning. They were like, oh, what should we do? We're just hanging out at our house, and we're like, oh, do you guys want to go get free breakfast? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, we'll go over to the True by Hilton or the Fairview, whatever, and we'll just just walking backwards, and we'll just go get free breakfast. So my kids today very often are like, hey, Dad, can we go get free breakfast? So it's like a free breakfast. Yeah. So buyer beware. Buyer beware.
Yeah.
But if we're on a road trip somewhere, I'm like, hey, you hungry? There's a whatever hotel. Let's go get some free breakfast. Yeah. You gotta be able to play it off.
There.
You gotta be able to play it off.
I didn't know where you were going with it. You were like, yeah, we're on a road trip. I was like, we knock over a liquor store or something. I'm like, I was like, wait, worried here a little bit. Okay. But that seems kind of tame.
We're just going for the oatmeal and the waffles, That's
that feels pretty tame. I mean, honestly, that stuff's going to sit there for 4 days anyway.
Okay. I've never been asked that question. I'm sure there's way more, but that's what comes to mind.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
No. And I never will.
No. Fair. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Chocolate? Anything added to the chocolate, or just straight up chocolate?
Well, I mean, I love chocolate fudge brownie, Ben and Jerry's. That's always
Okay.
a perennial favorite. I don't, but other than that, no, pretty much chocolate. I mean, I'd get in some other flavors if I had to. Cookie dough, Heath Bar Crunch here and there, but
Mhm.
but I've learned my lesson, and so I just tend to go. Now that I'm at this, with age sometimes comes wisdom, and so I just go chocolate.
I like that you said sometimes. I appreciate that. Some of us struggle there. My grandfather always liked chocolate. Was it Dutch chocolate almond? I don't know what I love that with almonds in it. That's a good flavor. So if you
Really,
haven't tried that one, he turned me on to that a long time ago.
my great uncle Nuchem, he loved chocolate ice cream. He loved all ice cream, but and when he got older, he would sometimes confuse ice cream with like frozen vats of chicken fat. And he would be like, saying to my grandma, I'd come over and be like, oh, this ice cream, what? They'd be like, uncle, you're in the wrong vat there, man. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
not good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Get a new pair of glasses,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not a fan of frozen chicken fat either.
Well, I
Then
mean, I'm not a fan of eating it.
okay, yeah. I mean, I'm not against it existing in the world, but it's not something you're going to grab a spoon and okay.
Yeah,
I got
I'm
you.
not going to go, put a bill, write a protest or anything or march.
Right. I'm not going to
Yeah.
start get a bunch of signatures together and try to make it not exist anymore. Okay. Okay. So you're big into the environment and stuff. Are they real creatures?
Yes, absolutely. It's not a real creature is a buckeye. A buckeye is not like a wildebeest that lives in the Colorado Rockies, like a mountain goat and a combination mountain lion. I know you're from Ohio. I was really
Yeah.
disillusioned growing up as an Ohio State fan when I went to my first Ohio State game because one of my friends went to vet school there, and we're at the tailgate, and everyone had these like necklaces of like nuts. I'm like, what is that? They're like, those are buckeyes. I'm like, you mean that's the actual eye? They're like, what are you talking about, idiot? And I'm like, the buckeye, like the wild beast, the mythical beast.
The
And
eye
they're
of a
like,
buck. Yeah.
you're just so dumb. It's a nut, you idiot. So yeah,
The candy is good. Have you ever had the peanut butter, the Buckeye? Like I don't know, it's like
no,
a cookie or
no,
whatever, but it's good. Yeah,
I've
they're
been
fantastic.
demoralized, ever since.
Oh, so
Yeah, I'm still a fan. I'm still a
fair.
Buckeye fan, but
Yeah.
not of the nut. I still hold on to my, So reindeer, they're probably with Buckeyes somewhere. You've got,
Hanging out.
yeah, hanging out. Yeah,
Yeah,
gallivanting.
that's an easy program to be a fan of. They do a pretty good job up there most of the time. They're pretty good.
In the North
Ohio
Pole.
State.
Oh,
Well, them too. I mean,
oh,
I
oh.
have no complaints.
Yeah, I
But
don't
yeah,
know my
Ohio
Ohio
State's a good program.
geography enough to know where Cincinnati is versus Columbus. Oh yeah, I can actually see it up there. Okay,
We're
yeah,
lower. We're
yeah.
down.
You're
Yeah,
lower.
we're
Yeah,
just south of
you're
Columbus.
you're near
Yeah,
Kentucky.
we're at the
Yeah,
bottom of the state, bottom
yeah,
left. Yep.
yep.
Have you ever tasted soap?
Yes, I have. My mom, she would, if we got a little bit too riled up at the dinner table, we actually might find a bar of soap suddenly in our mouths. Yes, I have tasted soap.
Okay. And finally, for the lightning round here, and probably the most important question: what's the most number of hours you've watched TV in a single day?
Well, in a single day, I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess it's got to be more, but the number that comes to mind for me probably is like at least. I mean, I can remember a single sitting of 10 in a row, and that was because. Do you remember the movie Bottle Rocket? Did you ever watch that movie with Owen and Luke Wilson? It's their first movie. They wrote it. Did you ever see Bottle Rocket?
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh,
I've got to watch it. Okay.
You got to see it. It's so good. And it came out, I think, in 1996. And one of my closest friends from college kept asking me for like months. He's like, have you seen Bottle Rocket? Have you seen Bottle Rocket? I'm like, no, I haven't seen Bottle Rocket. But he was living in New York City, and I went to visit him, and we went out. We had some drinks. We got back to his place. I was crashing his place. It was like midnight. I'm like, put Bottle Rocket on. He's like, no, absolutely not, because you're going to fall asleep, and that's going to just infuriate me, And I'm like, come on, put it on. Well, so he's like, I'm absolutely not. So the next day he went to work, and I was on a break. And he came home at like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and he looked and it was on. And he's like, nice. how many times have you watched it? I was like, this is the fourth time. So it was so good. I watched it over and over again all day long. So Bottle Rocket, that is my recommendation. You will watch TV all day long if you're, just on rewind, just on repeat. It's just that good.
Wow. That's my Owen Wilson impression. Okay, I have to check it out. Owen Wilson, Owen and Luke. I'm a fan of both of them.
Who isn't?
Okay.
I mean,
All
who
right.
isn't? Come on, yeah. Yeah,
it's kind of hard not to be.
James Caan has a pretty big role in the movie too. I think he maybe helped finance it, or he signed on, which was how they were able to get it financed and made.
I think I set my record for TV in a day with, I think it was when I had COVID. I watched Yellowstone, like pretty much. That's the only thing that could like keep my interest, because I had brain fog like crazy. It was nuts. And I think I watched like 2 seasons of Yellowstone straight. It was pretty awful because I had nothing else to do. I just laying in the basement,
So your answer is like 36 hours in one day or something?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
In one day. I somehow got 36 hours of TV in one day. It was a lot. I tried to get my kid to watch Knight Rider with me. She said no. We watched a couple of episodes. Like, Dad, this is great spending time and all, but I can't do this anymore. This is Michael Knight is so cheesy. The pickup lines are awful. Like this is awful, Dad.
Right. I know this guy's really famous in Germany, but whatever. I can't really do this. Yeah.
They love him over there. They do.
They love.
And
they
who
love him
doesn't?
there.
They love him. Okay. All right. So, what's coming up for you? Anything? Do you have a one-man show on Broadway coming up, or anything like that you want to tell us about? Do you have a book coming out? A big episode of anything that you're doing? Are you speaking anywhere? What's coming up that you want to share with the audience?
I do have some stuff coming up. I mean, I'll be at Boston University in a few weeks giving a talk related to these topics around climate, and they asked me to come talk on something that kind of is related to journalism. I don't hold myself to that standard on my platform. But that will be fun. I have actually started working on a memoir. So it's not necessarily coming up. It's not necessarily coming out, but I have started writing it, just going back into the vault of, all of the misadventures. From a very young age, I realized that I wanted to be James Bond / an entrepreneur, So I would put myself in those situations, be like, okay, I'm here, like I'm here in China, in this like communist, like state-run companies, offices. I'm set up. I was such a dummy. 1990. When I lived in China in 30 years ago, I actually bought a tiny camera. I was teaching English, was selling bicycle locks for this company, Kryptonite, traveling around the country. And I did have an office. I was their chief representative, and we were partnering with this Chinese company. And so I had an office in their state-run compound, which you're not supposed to do. And that, my Chinese was pretty good. And so I did go buy a little like camera, because I'm sure the CIA is going to call. They're going to call and like recruit me. So I have this like, fantasy life and I think there's some pretty decent stories in there. I'm working on a memoir. And truth is, the CIA actually did well. Loosely titled like How to Sell 1 Billion Bicycles to the Chinese, and a lot of other like, I don't know, something ideas that didn't pan out. But one man's quest for meaning.
Dorfman.
Man's quest for meaning.
There's no such thing as a free breakfast, right? What do you think? There's no such thing as a free breakfast?
There is such a thing as a free breakfast.
There is. You could say, or is
and
there?
More tales. And more tales from
free breakfasts and more tales
from prison. Yeah.
Now, was this so you got contacted by the CIA? Now, was this one of those things like the movie A Beautiful Mind, where you thought you were being contacted by the CIA?
Well, I didn't get contacted when I was there. And I actually was never personally contacted, but apparently at least once, maybe twice, the CIA sent letters to my parents' house. I did learn Chinese. I did speak Chinese. I did live in country for a couple of years in the 1990s. And then I went to a business school called Thunderbird, which is the School of Global Management, which is on an Air Force base in Arizona. It was started after World War II for kind of during the Marshall Plan, and we're thinking about rebuilding Japan. So American executives who would have language skills, cross-cultural skills, and business skills. And the CIA and other agencies do a lot of recruiting out of that school because there are a lot of executives going overseas. But either the 1 or 2 times when letters were sent to my house, my mom told me years later that she just did me a favor and threw them away. So thanks, Mom.
And what do they expect from your parents? You know what I mean? Like, they're going to like say, because always like when the serial killer or whatever, "Oh, he was always such a good boy." Our parents are horrible judges of character. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, they may not be the most
Anyway.
accurate judges of character.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's not coming up. So that memoir is not coming up.
Not anytime
but
soon.
Not anytime soon. Planted, the other company I mentioned with building materials, we are increasingly rolling out products. So we'll have some big announcements this spring. Just some of the things as we get to commercialization, some where we're going to build our materials start going into new houses. If folks want to check that out, it's plantedmaterials.com. It's a hipster spelling, PLANTD, like we skip a vowel.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah. And then Supercool. Yeah, we've got a lot of, awesome new episodes. We launched a course recently around market adoption, kinds of some of the things we talked about today. How do companies actually get customers to buy their climate innovations? Our interviews, our research with 60 plus, leading successful companies, and distilled that down into playbooks for other people who want to understand, okay, well, what do these companies do? What kind of value propositions do they create? How do they get customers to buy it? So we tried to distill that and make it helpful for others who want to go faster to speed up positive change.
And if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way, or learn more about what you've got going on? Is it a website, LinkedIn? How do people get in touch with you?
So Supercool's website is kind of a home base for everything. That's getsuper.cool. And then I am on LinkedIn very often, more than any other social channel. So that's the best place to find me.
Very cool. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. I really enjoyed the conversation today. I learned a lot. I don't know a lot about, climate science and all of that. You've taught me a lot. I'm going to have to, now I got to go Google a lot of this stuff. And I do want to hear more about the building materials from Planted. I think we talked about it a little bit, but I want to learn more about that. That's fascinating to me. Thank you for coming on. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, James, this was very, very fun. I got to talk about things that I had been able to avoid for a very long time, but you raised questions that I had to address. So thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a therapy session for people, really. It's cathartic. Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's one word I have to figure. There's probably some people I'm going to email and be like, don't listen to this.
Do you own a hotel in our area? Don't listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
exactly.
My gosh, that's great. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Again, Josh Dorfman, really appreciated it. And if you'd like to get in touch with us here at the /, drop us a line at the /@calibrity.com. See you next time. The / podcast is created by Calibrity. The / team is director and producer Ryan Wilson, editing by Steve Baradelli, marketing support by Taylor Blessing, and I'm your host, James Carmen. Thanks for listening.